Okay, guys, just to make it clear, today we are talking about the Steam Deck, not the Stream Deck. Okay? Now,
as soon as I saw this thing announced, as soon as I saw the name, I thought there's going to be a problem. Elgato are going to say like, "Hey, come on, let's sort something out." They might file a claim. I don't know, but that's the first thing I saw.
See, they're McDonald's. I'm McDowell's. Huh? They got the golden arches. Mine is the golden arcs. Now see, they got the Big Mac. I got the Big Mick. We both got 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, and onions. But they use a sesame seed bun. My buns have no seeds.
And it gets even better when you Google it. It sends you when you search Steam Deck, it gives you the results for the Stream Deck.
I wonder if that'll actually change over time. But look, this may be really good publicity, kind of, for Steam, for Stream Deck.
This is going to happen.
You know,
it's like the Xbox Series X.
I was going to say, it's like the Xbox Series X. It's just muddled with too many words. It's all a bit confusing. Let's get into it. It's just been announced today. We know it was a rumor several months ago. I believe we did cover it several months ago. But anyway, let's talk about it today. The specs, who this is for, what we like about it, what we don't like about it. I like how I show what we don't like about it.
Yeah.
And one of us loves it, one of us isn't that keen on it. All this and more after the drop.
So earlier in the year, Gabe Newell gave a talk at a school in New Zealand, and they asked him about the future plans, and he gave this very vague answer, saying, you know, you'll get a better idea of our plans closer to the end of the year. And everyone, there were a lot of sort of reports that were corroborating a handheld that was in the works. And today we've seen it. Today it's been announced.
I think this all comes to a head with a lot of people, a lot of hype around the Switch Pro that has been announced, but not really. Let's face it, there's no graphical upgrades whatsoever to the new OLED model. A lot of people, I think, really want a more powerful handheld. So I think that in some ways this is really exciting for a lot of people. And in a lot of ways, a lot of people are going to look at their current Switch and go, the Switch is just fine. It does exactly what I want it to do. So let's go into the actual specs before we talk about what we think about this.
Yep. So obviously today Valve announced they've called it the Steam Deck. And essentially, it's
like a little thing that you can press a few buttons and it'll tell the computer to do certain things.
like so it'll have a sound effect whenever you want to, you know, when you get maybe a subscription or if you get a cheer. But you know,
just an idiot. Yeah.
No, okay. So it's essentially, imagine it's a handheld PC. Is essentially what it is.
It's a powerful Switch. It's a Switch Pro.
It's running a custom handheld version of SteamOS. And it's going to be specifically designed for playing PC games in a form factor like this.
It's important to also mention that they've said that every single Steam game at this very minute can be played on the Steam Deck.
So the whole store. So
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Specs-wise, it's kind of what you would expect. So we're going to get a 1280 by 800 screen, which puts it as a 16 by 10 aspect ratio.
Slightly different ratio, yeah.
About the same resolution really as the Nintendo Switch if you want to use it as a reference point. It's going to have an LCD screen running at 60 Hertz. It's also got trackpads, 2 trackpads on it. So if you'll remember the Steam controller, it had those 2 trackpads. Same kind of deal here that you can use for a variety of inputs, but chiefly, I think it'll work where, games have been developed for PC that require a mouse for menu navigation. Mm-hmm. You'll get a similar experience using these trackpads. And then you got the more sort of granular nitty-gritty of the CPU and the chipset. Very quickly, a 2.4 to 3.5 gigahertz processor. It's a 1 to 1.6 gigahertz GPU, 16 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM. It can go up to a 512 gigabyte SSD. There's a few different configurations for storage. We'll sort of get into that.
You can also have an external SD if you want.
Yeah, and you can expand it.
And also you can have the suspend resume, a bit like Switch. If you turn off the actual machine, you jump back on. Yeah, it's exactly where you were.
Which is quite cool.
Definitely.
In terms of it does come with a dock. The dock's going to have what you would expect for a PC. But interestingly, it's got the DisplayPort 1.4, which will give you 8K at 60 Hertz or 4K at 120 Hertz. Mm-hmm. Now, if there is a world where there's a machine that you hold in your hand is able to put out those kinds of graphics to a dock, I want to live in that world. So I think
I don't know why they've done that.
strictly speaking, I think it's just to show what the dock is capable of outputting. This is not going to run games at 8K 60. This is not going to run games at 4K 120. It's just what it can output.
Unless they just want you to be able to use the dock for future upgrades or something. I don't know, right?
Or as a media player, like maybe they'll have a Netflix app and you can plug the Steam Deck into your TV and watch 4K movies. But
it also comes with an Etherport and USB 2.0. Now, look, the pricing models are interesting. So it starts at $399 USD base model with 64 gigabytes with normal storage.
And a carrying case.
Which is important.
That's value.
It's only when you go to the $529 USD version that you actually start getting the 256 SSD. And then on top of that, the $649, the highest version USDs, which you do get the 512 gigabyte SSD plus premium anti-glare etch glass, whatever, I guess that matters, but that's just them trying to differentiate, the different classes of product to make it sound like it's worth getting the 649
the different
version.
Glasses of product, perhaps.
Oh god, terrible.
But yeah, so look, that's it. It's been announced. There was a lot of speculation about it. And we know it exists, and we know it's coming towards the end of the year. It's coming to the EU, the UK, United States, and Canada. With plans to release in more markets later. For context, we still, in Australia, haven't got natively the Steam
Index.
We've
not got the
think of the name, the Valve Index. So, I don't know. Maybe it'll be the same deal. I think with something like this, they might be a bit more motivated to try some more markets, given that, obviously, the Index was expensive and VR is niche.
I think this is also in some ways, niche. I do think that. We'll get into that in a minute. But look, Gabe said he did expect to sell millions of this. I think that we have a shortage at the moment of next-gen consoles. I wonder if this is going to fall into the camp of also having issues of getting this out to the masses.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or if this is going to be a little bit easier. Switch has also had a problem. A lot of stores that you walk into and you try and buy a Switch, it's impossible. Like a lot of the time it is sold out, but of course you can buy a Switch a little bit easier than you can buy an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5. But I just hope that this is...
Because it's 4 years old. That's what I mean. It's amazing that it still sells out.
Exactly.
But yeah, so...
firstly, are you going to buy this? Are you excited about this product?
Well, okay, I think before we answer that question, we need to actually understand who this is for.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I think... I find it difficult to see a place for a product like this in the current marketplace where, cloud streaming is getting to a pretty good point. Yeah. You're going to get varying results from many different people. But I got a 5G connection on my phone, and I was able to get access to the Xbox game streaming preview.
Project X Cloud.
I was, So I was in the middle of the CBD. And I was streaming Halo. Yeah. And it was good.
It's pretty good,
Now, I hear reports from people who say that the streaming is not good depending on your proximity to, Microsoft servers. But it works. I struggle to see where such a specialized product that's going to be like this, that's really a PC that runs your entire Steam library, is going to fit in the marketplace. We had GeForce Now, which showed that this is very possible through the streaming, and they clamped down on that, and there were a lot of games that were taken off because of a variety of different reasons.
But that was predominantly because developers didn't like that, more so because they weren't asked from GeForce. Now,
what I'm saying,
I don't think it was a Steam initiative to try and squelch that.
What I'm saying though is I think there is certainly space in this marketplace for your Steam library to be streamed to a mobile device of your choosing, whether it's your TV or whether it's your mobile phone.
I can already do that. That's the important thing. I can already play Sekiro on my Steam device in a 5G area. I've tried it before. It's not great, but it works. The first game I ever actually tried it with was Remnant from the Ashes, and I was like, wow, this is actually going to work in the future. I think that this is an interesting product because I think it solves two problems. I think it solves the people that really do want a Switch Pro version. But I know that we don't get the ecosystem of Nintendo, but a lot of people just want to be able to play, high fidelity, decent graphic games with a extremely large library from Steam on a bus when they're going to work to and from every day, or they're in the middle of nowhere and they just want to be able to know that they've always got a decent console on them and they can play most of the games that are out on Steam. Secondly, if this does come with a 5G connection in terms of wireless connection, this new product...
Well, it doesn't say that in the specs list.
And I don't know.
Which is interesting.
I think that also solves the problem if that is part of it, because that means that you can play Sekiro handheld, or there's other games that come out in the future that do need some computational power in the cloud, and you know, this handheld in 2 years isn't strong enough. It has 5G connection, so you can actually connect to the 5G towers, and you know, you can play all the Steam games that are coming out in 2024 or 2025, and it's actually still powerful enough to do that because it has that connection.
It is worth mentioning, however, on the topic of the power of the machine itself. IGN did a pretty extensive hands-on preview with it, and they were playing, anecdotally, they said they were playing Jedi Fallen Order on high settings with absolutely zero issues.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's important to remember...
But it's 720p.
That's important to... Yeah, that's exactly right. It's important to remember that all your games running on this thing, which isn't the thing I'm holding in my hands, but it's a good example... Everything that's going to be running that will be running at 720p. So, the overall workload that's put on the machine is so drastically reduced compared to when you're playing on, you know, your 1440p monitor or a 4K monitor. You know, it's worlds apart. So,
Yep.
I certainly see scope for, especially if they can get some optimization, you know, really top notch on the hardware end and how it processes what's going on. I can see a world where, you know, the games that are in your current library run to a pretty good standard on this thing. Yes, I do see an issue potentially 2 or 3 years down the track.
I think that, you know, in terms of who is this for, I think this is probably the gaming professional, in terms of the person that needs to go into the city and has a bit of a you know, transit in front of him, maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. He's got a bit of money or whatever, right? Like, he's happy to spend $600 US or $400 US on something that just allows him to continue playing his games that he has at home also. That's where I think this falls. I don't think, you know, mum's gonna walk in and buy little Billy this. You know, I think she's gonna buy a Switch for him. I think this is for the older audience that has a bit of money, already has a lot of consoles at home, and just wants to be able to continue playing those games, you know, on the go. But back onto, are you gonna buy this?
Well, I was going to say to you,
Okay.
on the back of that, like, you are someone who loves handheld gaming.
I love it. It's pretty much all like, look, I would rather play a game in shitter graphics and know that I can play it in handheld.
Classic Sam.
But the thing is, I already have a Switch. I got 2 Switches. I got a Switch docked right now, and I've also got this. Like, I've got a lot of this, and a lot of games are coming to Switch. I also have my mobile, man, and I've got a 5G connection. I work at home a lot of the time. I can just sit there and play Sekiro on my mobile with a controller attached, and I can have a lot of
Through
that
remote play.
Through remote play, through Steam Link, it's called.
Yeah.
I can have a lot of that experience already. So I fall into the camp of, I don't really need it. But if I needed to go on a bus 40 minutes or an hour every day on a train or something, and I was, you know, the gaming professional, then, you know, that would be a lot more appealing to me. It would be.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not like, I like it. I think it's really cool. I think it's exciting. I think I want this to be a successful product, because I do think that the future has a place for powerful handheld gaming technology, and I think that cloud streaming and you know, good handheld products can coexist. It's just not for me because I don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have absolutely zero interest in buying this product, pretty much ever.
Even if you were on a train an hour there and back to work every day.
The games that I play on PC are not games I want to play in a handheld. That's what it comes down to.
Like Sekiro, you wouldn't play that?
Absolutely not.
Really?
I want to play that on a 4K TV. I want to play that like
I
on
guess.
a couch, you know, comfortable controller in hand. Because the reason we keep bringing up Sekiro is I've just recently...
We just finished it again.
I poo-pooed it like 2 years ago. I didn't like the combat. And you know, I gave it another shot, and it's like the best
game
game
ever.
anyway. But
Yeah.
I digress. The reason we keep coming back to that is because that's the kind of experience for me that I want to have on the big screen, controller in hand, sit back into the couch and just soak it all in. It's not the kind of thing that I want to be bumped around on. Not that I take the bus, but if I did, some blokes trying to...
Can you imagine this big boy on a bus? Like, sorry mate, just trying to play some Sekiro.
Once I actually...
Just trying to kill Ishin, sorry.
Anyway... Once I elbowed a lady on the bus on the top of her skull because my hand fell off the rail.
Oh my god.
Fortunately, I'd already hit the button I was getting off.
It's like the Mortal Kombat.
It was like a fatality. It was one of the most brutal things ever.
Poor woman.
But no, to go back to my point, is like there's the games that I play on PC are games that I want to use a keyboard and mouse for. The games that that are more indie experiences, I would rather just play on the Switch or bite the bullet and play them on the PC. I don't want to... So this is... all these dollar prices we're announcing here are US values.
Yeah.
If we were to convert them to Australian dollars...
Top model's $1,000.
It'd be like nearing $1,000.
Yeah.
A PlayStation 5 in our marketplace in Australia is $750 US. Same for the Series X.
But you've got to remember also, the Steam Index is a niche product. It is sold out all the time. Like, people love this shit, right? I think Steam... its library, the Valve Index. I think Steam's library is so attractive, and I think that a lot of people now that don't own a Switch yet will now look at this and go, "Well, which one do I want?" I think that may start being part of the equation for them.
So I think that completely ignores the fact that the Switch has Nintendo on it. It's got Mario Kart. It's got Mario. It's got Zelda.
Definitely.
So that's certainly the big
that's the draw card for Switch.
The reason, obviously, the handheld Switch. Nintendo just understand how to do handhelds. They always have. But with the Switch, you've got this product where if you want to be in Nintendo's ecosystem, you have to have it. And it's a handheld. So normally I wouldn't buy a DS or a 3DS. Normally I'd buy, a Wii and the GameCube. I've owned all the Nintendo consoles. I love Nintendo. But, I normally am not a handheldy kind of person, but I have a Switch and now I play handhelds.
Yeah, me too. For sure.
But I think the Switch is not... I don't think you can necessarily compare the Switch as a product to this thing as a product relative to their specific market segments. Because... the person who's looking at buying a Switch and umming and ahhing isn't going to be tossing up between a Switch and a Steam Deck.
Yeah.
They're a completely different buyer.
I think...
And to finish that point, that's where I see an issue with this product. I think the core audience who want to play their Steam library don't want to do it on a 720p handheld that advertises between 2 and 8 hours of battery life.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't see
we
that.
Also didn't mention that it was only 2 to 8 hours of battery life. I agree with that.
I suppose the last thing I'll say on this whole Steam Deck thing is that even though it sounds like it's not a product for you, and it's definitely not a product for me, I really hope it does succeed because I mean, it's such a cliche, but competition in the marketplace is only a good thing. And if this market segment can become a viable, a viable pool of people to sell to, if we can get a really healthy marketplace of people who are hungry for PC or full console-like experiences, AAA experiences, or even just sort of your standard PC fare on the go, it might attract other people to the market. So, I mean, I think this is... I love new products, and I love observing, the announcements and releases of new products, certainly in this space. So I'm excited for it as I said about the... I don't know what I was talking about the other day, but I said as an observer of this industry, I think I was talking about Assassin's Creed. As an observer, I'm excited to see what this product can or might do, whether it'll crash and burn or whether it'll be a hit. But it's not for me. And for that reason, I'm out.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, we will see you guys next time. Laymen out.